Hi, so here we go. Here's my short video on my simple monoprinting technique. I don't think it's nothing I've invented, nothing new under the sun, but it's a simple way that I find of monoprinting that just adds a little extra or throws something into the mix from time to time when I'm feeling a bit sort of stuck, not quite sure which way to go. Plus side of it being that it doesn't really require much in the way of fancy equipment. As you can see, this is just I think it was out of an off-the-shelf photo frame that I'd bought. You know, you could cut your own mount if you like, but obviously, you know, I've got one ready-made, so why not use it? The other equipment is non-stick baking parchment roll, greaseproof paper. I don't know what else you call it in America or Australia. Baking paper, I don't know. I have tried doing this with tissue paper. Again, you get some really nice effects, but obviously tissue paper being more fragile tends to tear more easily, so I'm going to have to try and perhaps experiment a bit with slightly more robust tissue paper. We'll see, but for this demo I've just stuck with the baking parchment, and then it is just a can't get it out. This is I think this is an R&F oil black, I think it's lamp black. It's just an oil bar stick. And then what I do is, with these very expensive, well, this is the most expensive thing, the oil bar, to be honest. What I do with this, with these is, like all good Blue Peter demos, here's one I made earlier. And as you can see, it's still got the ready frame. I've torn off a bit of the baking parchment, and then I have just taped it to my frame. And then what I'll do now is, just so it gives me an idea of when the paper's on, that I know where my frame is, I'm just going to sort of draw around here. I mean, you know, we don't have to be like too accurate, do we? You know, this is all experimentation, but it just gives me a bit of an idea as to where the actual, you know, image is going to appear. So there we go. Like I say, nothing too difficult. Make a frame or cut a mount out with the, you know, aperture, whatever size you like. I mean, you know, I've got this size, I've done one in a bigger size, bit of baking parchment, greaseproof paper, taped to the edge, draw around there, we're ready to go. So I just usually prepare various amounts of paper, obviously different sizes. Get a bit of kitchen paper ready, because I don't know, I always seem to get in a mess with it. But yeah, we're about ready to go. Before we get going though, just another addition to say that I usually have sort of bits of scrap paper about. I'll show you why in a while, but you know, this is just old work, and I just use these as having like scraps of paper about, so just put them to one side. And first job is get my oil bar. I'm going to peel off some of this. Don't know how dried it is. Right, and as you can see here, we know whereabouts it's obviously the image is going to print, and then in case it is just a case of as you can see, I mean, you have to sometimes be a little bit careful about what you're doing underneath, because obviously that will you know, highlight through with the black. But it is a case of just adding, covering it with this, with the oil bar, with a black oil bar. Try and sort of take off the, I don't know, I tend to get little bits of the oil bar congeal, so I do try and remove those as I'm going along. Now, my analogy of doing this is, let me just put that back in the case. My analogy of doing this type of mono printing is it's a bit like pancake making. And if your pancake making is anything like mine, the first pancake is always a bit, not quite sure whether the pan's hot enough, how much batter to use. So your first one's always a little bit, mine always comes out raggedy. But as you get going, they obviously improve. And I must admit, I do find this is the same way with this mono printing. So what I then do is a piece of paper and sit that over on your frame. So as you can see, I've put the oil bar black on the greaseproof paper. I've just put some random bits of old work just as a block. Place that down carefully, well, and then just gently rub over it. Now, as I said, the first one can sometimes be a bit, I always find, for me personally, like pancake making. I also then sometimes tend to use, it could be anything with the sharp or the point, you know, it could be the pencil, just to draw marks on, you know, I'm trying to sort of, I don't know, capture the element of the field edges, if you like, the wheelings, I don't know. But, you know, we're not going to be precious about it. This is just the first one to go, you know. And as you can see, obviously where we've had the paper, it blocks it out. Peel goes off. As I've said before, with these bits here, I do tend to sort of, you know, I'll let these dry and then use them as collage as well. And then what I'll do now is just go back over, fold it back over gently. I mean, this is the lightest of touch, just so you can get a slight difference in the tonal variation. And then again, we'll just, you know, go over again with some of the you know, I'm thinking of the fields and the barley and whatever, but like I say, never expect too much with the first one. As you can see, slight there. And then you've got obviously where the edge is. And then we'll just keep, and then in the case I'll just keep going. Yeah, probably this one I'm going to do, and I'm not going to put any paper down. And again, it is just a case of lightly pressing. I'm thinking about the wheelings. Yeah, and obviously some of the indents that you've made from the previous one will show through as well. Getting random marks. Quick look, see what you think. Okay, where do I perhaps need a bit more dark? Let's go over here, so I'll press a bit firmer. You know, perhaps a bit more of the suggestions of the barley. I don't know, you know, there's a bit of a hedge. Let's do that so it goes all the way along. But you're getting the idea. It is just a case of, perhaps we could have a bit more dark along there. So press a bit firmer. You know, and you'll keep doing this and you'll end up with multiple monoprints, you know, and eventually out of them you might get one or two. I usually find that I like. Obviously, you know, you will have to reapply the lamp black oil bar as you've gone on. Get different effects here. Gonna just do a bit sort of there, you know, then we can have sort of try and do the bushy type things here. A bit more sort of, let's have a bit more dark down here, shall we? Let's just see how, you know, it's come through. And then obviously, like I say, you get the indents from previous marks. I'll do a bit more dark up here. You know, then you can always add more of the oil bar if you're thinking, oh, I just need a bit more there. But yeah, like I say, perhaps we could just do it's really hard. I'm trying to do this demonstration for you and show that I'm not being that precious about it, but then you can't help it. I can't get into thinking like, oh well, we'll just put a bit there, and that could be that, and that could be the field fence, and there you go. I don't know. But yeah, and like I say, we'll just keep going. I mean, now these will take quite a while to dry because obviously it's oil, so I should say here that the paper I'm using is just 220 GSM cartridge paper. It's, you know, like a smooth surface. I think on this one we'll just try something a little different. This is in here. I've got, I don't know how to get the packet out now. It's Art Graf Graphite powder, water soluble, but I'm going to use it dry, and I'm just going to randomly, oops, sorry, it's a pigeon outside if you can hear that, scatter some of that on. I've never done this before, so this is the first you see me experiment. Just with my fingers. Again, let's gently put this over, and then we'll gently, like I say, I've never done this before, so I don't know what effect this is going to have. Bit of a thirst. I don't know, I think the pigeon, I don't know. Sorry if you can hear a lot of flapping. Again, we're just going to get this, you know, do some lines, like that. Just a little bit over. Right, now we'll see. This could be a total disaster, but hey, you know what? We're just experimenting and having fun, aren't we? Oh, I don't know. That's a more softer, subtler effect. Obviously, then, you know, from now on in, that's going to be part and parcel of the next ones I do. But I might need to just put a few more marks in. But I'm going to have to go out and shoo that pigeon away, because honestly, I don't know what it thinks it's trying to do. Build a nest in a bush that's in a pot that I've got, which, to be honest, wouldn't be a great idea, because the pigeon is nearly as big as the bush. A few more marks, a bit more sort of press it down. Again, let's just sort of see. And what I'll probably do with these is, let me just shake that off outside. As you can see, that's a far more subtle effect than that one. And probably what needs to happen is press a bit harder in the middle. We need to get some of that horizon hedge effect. Probably need to add now a bit more of the lamp black. So let's just see, shall we? Let's see if that makes a difference. Oops. And obviously, like I say, there's going to be some of the graphite powder on here now, so it all congeals. And so very experimental. Oh, you see, started to come up a bit darker. But yeah, there we go. That's the start. That's the very sort of, you know, the thing now is to carry on, experiment. Like I say, you'll end up with multiple monoprints. I always find personally, for me, I usually get about, you know, 1 or 2 out of half a dozen or so that I quite like, that I think, oh, I can possibly work on further. I might add in once it's dry, and obviously, like I say, this is oil, will take a while to dry. I might go in and add some you know, pencil work, experiment a bit with charcoal. I don't know, it's all about throwing something different into the mix. You know, if you're feeling a bit stuck with your work, or you just want to try a different material or medium and see how that would work with the theme that you're sort of trying to portray, give it a go. And as I say, apart from obviously the oil bar, which is the most expensive bit, what have you used? A bit of parchment paper, ordinary paper, and old scraps of old work. Let's do that a bit more down there. Right. Okay. There we go. And that's where I'm going to leave that one. Do you know, I'd say that and then I don't, do I? Look, because I'm just, you know, doing that cardinal sin. Just going to go back in. Just going to go back in. I am leaving that there now. Promise. I'm going to wadge up the edge. You have to make sure, like, to seal this, because sometimes the end of the oil bar will dry out, so you have to sort of perhaps sometimes peel that end off before you can start again. And obviously, because I've gone over the graphite powder, there might be some of that on the end. So before I do another one, I'm just going to perhaps clean that tip off. But yeah, you sort of, I hope that's given you an idea. Things to try, something different. Okay, I'm going to leave this one here for now and move on to the next one. Why don't you have a go? And I would love to see your results.